listening to the MLS Fantasy Insider, bringing you weekly tips, tricks, and advice for the official MLS fantasy game.
Whoop, missed the fade there, but hey, I got it. There we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the MLS Fantasy Insider. So excited. I realized at the last second that I hadn't changed the top of the banner of the panel here for the stream to the right episode, which I did last week too, and I was like, oh shoot, and I changed that real quick so that it didn't start out wrong, and I was like, oh, I missed the fade, but whatever, we'll see here. Let's see. All right, Gene is here. I was waiting just for him.
Recording in progress.
There we go. Thank you so much, Gene, Scott. Nice to see you. Welcome, everyone. Happy to have you all joining us for the show tonight. FBL Thomas, hello. Thanks for the retweets and the likes. Enjoy all of that you guys do out there. So, yes, we are happy to have you all here. Give me just a moment while I get the social up. I forgot to load up my little quick cheat sheet right here, so I don't have to worry about retyping everything, and I can just copy and paste and do the things. I hope everyone had a good round. Do the things. That's right. Do the things. Do the stuff. But yeah, looking forward to talking about the round this week. Looking forward to hearing how everyone did. So, okay, let's get out here. And the social is going up right now on the Blue Twitter X's. Getting that out there. So if you would be so kind as to like and share that, I would be very happy. It helps us get everything visible so that people know that we are here, and just increase the interactions, which we're coming down to near the end of the season, but still happy to help people reach those milestone goals. I know we had people make the Champions League, this final round here, so that was awesome. Ashley, that's right. Our very own Ron, who was on the show a couple weeks ago as well, got in there. That was super excited. So you're getting out the social over on Discord as well. All the double pings. All right, that is out there again. Yes, please do share the social, like and do all that. If you're joining us on YouTube here for the first time, please do like and subscribe, hit the bell notification. It helps so much just to get the awareness out there, spread our fantasy community. It's been fun to see it grow on YouTube since this originally started as just a vehicle to help get the podcast prepped and ready and recorded and all the good things there, but it's been fun to interact with people live as they join, and just really awesome to see everything grow. So everything's out there. People are in the channel. Hello, Strix. Nice to see you all here. We'll see who else is able to join us, and we will get started. Hello and welcome to the MLS Fantasy Insider, our preview of round 25 of the 2025 MLS Fantasy season. I'm your host, Reid. Nope, I totally butchered that. You know what? We're just going to start over again, because I think I even did I say there? Yep. We're just doing this again. We're doing it all again.
Run it back.
We're running it back. Episode 26, round 25. Don't know what's going on with that. Got the end of season.
Did I do it wrong? Did I not? Oh, I thought I updated.
I think you did 26, and I saw it, but it's not you. No, it's not you. Eric, what's going on? I just need to say hi to Eric and Thomas. That's what it was. Sorry. Okay. Stop. Cut it out. We're not going to deal with and scene. That's what we're going to do. Here we go. That was the behind the scene fun that everyone gets since we're recording this live. All right, here we go. For reals. Hello and welcome to the MLS Fantasy Insider, our preview of round 25 of the 2025 MLS Fantasy season. This episode is brought to you by who else but Evander's Return. Yeah. Oh, no, sorry. Actually brought to you by the amazing MLS Fantasy Insider Patreon supporters. It's because of you that we're able to keep this project going. Find out more over at patreon.com/MLSFI. I'm your host, Reid Connolly from MLSFantasyBoss.com, and tonight I'm joined by my partner in fantasy, Ashley Savage. How you doing tonight, Ashley?
I'm doing great. Good round. Ready to crank on in Champions League. Talk about some soccer.
Ready to chat about some great stuff here. And of course, the two-pronged brought to you by today. So, of course, nice for me as the Cincinnati fan to be able to celebrate Evander, nice for you to be able to get a little dig there since Ashley helped prep the rundown. She was very eager to prep the rundown today. Get a little dig at your Portland enemies right there. That might be too strong, but your rivals at least. But whatever works
rivals
for you.
for sure. Enemies maybe not. We talked about this off air. We talked about this last week. I love, like Lucho too. I love when a player leaves a team in a kind of sloppy, messy way and has to come back to play them. I love it.
Oh yeah.
For Maxi or Rudy, that's every week, you know.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, but no, that was good. But to the Portland fans who are listening, also it was, as the commentator said, sort of a double homecoming or a double reunion, not a homecoming, a double reunion that tended to go under the radar, but also with Kelsey having been at Cincinnati and coming to Portland and him getting a brace. So, I mean, there was two sides to that coin. So happy to see that happen, but mostly just happy for the result. So,
sure.
But we won't wax on. Yeah. We won't wax on about that too much because we know why you all are here, and that is to talk about the fantasy takeaways that we have from round 24 before getting into this round 25, which I think is going to be an interesting round. So, Ashley, I'm going to check with Chad. You tell us just what were some of the general takeaways you had fantasy focused from round 24.
Yeah, it was a good round for me. Defense gave me nothing except for Charlotte, but still got 96 points. Made it into Champions League by the skin of my teeth in this final round. I was a top 100 round rank, and I'm cracking into that top 100 overall. I talked about it a lot this season, but this has been a really frustrating and borderline emotional season for me of playing fantasy. So it's nice to hopefully kind of be ending on a better note. So this was a good round for me. Some notes and takeaways that I had were that Charlotte defense, especially at home, continues to generally hold strong. They've had 4 shutouts in their last 6 matches, home and away, which is definitely something we'll talk about going into this upcoming round as well. But also, Zaha got in a fight with a fan. What was that about? Is that anything? I don't know. I haven't heard anything. I just saw the videos. So not sure what's going on in Charlotte, but their defense is doing great. Uh, um, yeah, man. When I saw that delay, I really wasn't sure if Orlando was gonna play. Um, Made me nervous, and gosh, he sat in that locker room for 4 hours and still produced regular Ojeda things, and it was definitely nerve-wracking for those of us who captained him, I think. And I was one of those people. He got an 11, which I guess isn't superb, but considering the weather delay, I thought that was just lovely. So I think, for me, he's kind of a must-own. He is a must-own. I think he should be in the MVP conversation as well, but that doesn't apply to us, so I'll keep moving. Speaking of must-owns, and we can chat about this a little bit, I'm wondering if Zinkernagel from Chicago has moved into that must-own territory. He's definitely producing, right? He's in double digits most of his last few games. He had a random 2 and a 7 and 4 down there, but generally, he's putting up the points, especially at home, and so I don't think he's necessarily fixture proof, but he's definitely the person making consistent points in Chicago, and just definitely someone to check in on every week. Um, you know, we kind of already touched on this at the top of the show, but Portland decided to sing, fuck Evander, and Evander decided to sing pretty with those goals and goal contributions. So
got the game winner.
He had the game winner. He had a goal and an assist, if I'm not mistaken, with 11 points. And even when he played for Portland, I liked him. I liked how he played. I had him a lot in fantasy. I hated that he played there, but what a fun player. I know there was a lot of messiness on that exit, but what a just, as someone who dabbles in both reality TV and fantasy soccer, that those two things combine when Evander comes back to Portland. So that was definitely an entertaining one. I we talked about this briefly, and I do apologize because I can't remember if it was on air or off air, but we had a conversation about what does Denis Bouanga look like with Heung-min Son on the team and on the field, and this one small sample size, which was one game, of him starting, really favored Sonny. Sonny is a much different player than Denis Bouanga, but they're both lining up, in these false striker winger positions. And this is the first weekend in a while that Denis Bouanga's got minutes played, but Sonny, I think, got a 7
Something like
with
that. Yeah.
no goal contributions. He got 3 points for key passes. He got a point for a shot on goal. And then he got his minutes played and an assist. Right? Didn't he get an assist? Am I mistaken?
I don't know.
I'll
I have to
circle
check.
back. You're like, oh.
It's on your notes.
So I know. Sorry. No, he did get an assist. He got 9 points. And so, he's in the goal contributions, and Denis wasn't this week, and I think that that's just something to know. I have been a long enough fan of Bouanga to say I don't think we count him out from a fantasy perspective. I think you'll see Sonny on a lot more teams this week, but he is coming into the league with a much more, I'd say, kind of creative and aggressive style of play as a true winger would. And so he'll definitely come up in our future section for player picks, but he did seem to, as we say, nerf Bouanga's points, and I'm just interested to see if that continues, or does this become a you got to have both situation?
Yeah, definitely a topic of focus in chat right now. A lot of people talking about that. Maybe a fun thing to dive into a little bit more after a couple of games, and maybe get the strategy clinic guys on that one right there.
Yeah, sample size needs to go up.
Oh, for sure. We'll talk about that. For me, I enjoyed this round. It was a good round. It ended on 92 points. For me, I know I had sent Ashley a message at one point being like, my bench did well. I want to get these points. Who should I drop? And ended up on the way back. I was visiting in-laws this weekend, was traveling, was not able to adjust my team with the start of the Houston game, and had a defender start that I didn't expect. And so stranded Malanda's 8 points on my bench. I didn't get. Got 4, so I could have had 96, but got Luis Suarez's points, got Christian Kalina's points that came in. Had Ojeda captain. I think 11 was fine. I mean, 11 was one of the highest point totals that players could have gotten. I don't think anybody saw Navarro coming away with the highest points possible with the round. We had a few guys get 12 that you wouldn't really expect. Kelsey, people like that. So 11, definitely a very solid captain pick there. Underperformances from Heel, definitely this past round, we had talked about. I know this was something I had him on my team, even though I had mentioned last week that LAFC had a pretty strong defense. But we thought that the form of Heel would kind of help carry him in. Did not turn out, so that's a nice talking point to take there, because we had talked about LAFC being one of the better defenses that people could target. And after this round, they're number 2 overall in their chance to concede at home. Nashville's slightly better than LAFC and not conceding at home. And then when they're on the road, they're kind of near the bottom, but they still don't give up usually more than a goal a game at times. So it's not quite 2 goals per game, but a lot of teams are kind of in that barrel. So when they're at home, pretty good shot there. They got a pretty stout defense overall with what's being looked at. Dreyer got me a 6. You usually kind of hope a little bit more from him. I thought there could be a few more goals against San Jose. Yeah. I mean, they got 2, but I thought there might have been a little bit more both ways. I know it was 2-1, so I was hesitant for that clean sheet there. But solid round overall. Muriel got 3. I questioned it last week on the show, but when it came down to it, I thought I was kind of deciding, do I want to go with him? Do I want to go somebody else? Do I want to go with Martinez? Yeah. I did have Martinez, What do I want to do? And I just decided to take the flyer against Sporting Kansas City, mostly because of the Sporting Kansas City form. And did not work. 71 minutes, had some rotation. That's been an issue for him throughout the season. So that's a cautionary tale about Muriel. He's got the ability, but he rarely goes 90. He honestly, if you get 60 out of him, you're doing good for kind of near his ceiling almost for what you're going to expect from him with minutes as well. So that's definitely a huge risk factor for him. Some other general takeaways. Messi back doing Messi things. We saw him. I know a lot of people had him on the bench. I mean, that's why I ended up bringing in Muriel, because I had a spot there for Messi already on the bench. He said, nah, I don't want that. Give me Suarez on the bench. Kind of swap some things around.
Yeah.
Messi still worked out as even a viable captain option this round, which we know is a consistent factor with Messi. That's still there. So he is back in the mix now, coming into Leagues Cup, which we'll talk more about in a few minutes. Rafael Navarro, though, this is a bit of a run of form for him. We had talked mostly about the departure of Jordi Mihailovic from Colorado and how that could impact. And I believe this is 3 games in a row now that we've seen production from Rafael Navarro, and at least 2 games since Jordi's been gone. And so that takeaway may be, no thank you, don't need that. So definitely keep an eye on him, because their next couple of games, I think it's tempting with some of the fixtures that they have. I mean, these are not the toughest teams that Colorado will be going against, and they got that result against Atlanta, who is also a weak team. So have that just factor into your thought process. I think it's very fair there. One of the big talking points we had from last week, or that we highlighted, was that New York Red Bulls and Philadelphia were playing each other twice because of Open Cup, and Philly came out on top in both of those matches. We saw Forsberg get subbed in middle of the game during Open Cup. Might have made him tempting. His form might have made him tempting. Did not result. I don't know how many people took him. I did not. People know where I stand with this. But could this be the end of that run of form for Forsberg? So that's one to keep an eye on. Kelsey was great. I mean, I watched that full game, of course. The Portland attack is definitely enticing, and they're just going to be making it stronger with these summer signings. And you could see how dangerous Kelsey was coming in on the wing, cutting in a lot of opportunities, a lot of great defensive moments and goalkeeping moments from Cincinnati as well. But defense is subjective, I still think, for Portland, but there are some offensive attacking opportunities that could be good differential options, I think. And they've been on a good run of form. I mean, this was a 5-game winning streak, I think, that was snapped by Cincinnati. So don't overlook Portland with some of their changes. You mentioned Charlotte as well with that clean sheet. We kind of thought that the weekend, Real Salt Lake, due to the suspension right there, and so that was very common keeperoo that we had set up with a lot of people. And then the last 3 I'm going to mention was we had conversations about how Vancouver would be impacted based on their own domestic tournament, and who would be available. And so we had some concerns about defense rotations. We had some concerns about who was fit at the top, if Brian White was going to be there, what's going to be happening up there. And we saw at the end of the day that Brian White got points. They drew. Houston 1-1, and that goal came from Brian White, and so he got those points. Still to question what's going to happen when Mueller is integrated into the team and when he's getting the starting spot, because he's going to. But
we should note Mueller had an absolute cracker of a goal that got called off by an offside that did not favor him. Do you know what No, I mean, he was off, but my point is the offside did not. It did not give Mueller any sort of advantage.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
So that was something to see.
So that's a good element to just keep an eye on. Like, how is that going to play out? Just like we talked about with the Sunny, how that's going to play out. But White got the goal this week, and so that was just, I think, some good takeaways. A lot of options still there with Vancouver, so don't be overlooking that. One that I had overlooked. This was pointed out to me on Twitter, so thanks to Champ on Twitter for sending out this one. You had talked about Zaha, but Idan Tokomati has been racking up goals over there for Charlotte. I mean, this is multiple games in a row. The guy's coming in, getting production, goals, assists. So cheap. Keep an eye on him if you're looking at just some sort of differential options for what's coming up with Charlotte as an option. But yeah, there's a player that's been under the radar on some good forms. Take a look at him. And then you had mentioned Zinkernagel. This is the last thing I'll say before I check chat. You had mentioned Zinkernagel, and I mean, we hesitate with that term of like fixture proof, and do you always have him? But for me, for the past several weeks, I know I've mentioned him often during player picks, but he has already risen to that level for me where he is a go-to player every week of, I'm liking this guy. Strangely enough, is Chicago on the road? Fantastic. Give me Zinkernagel. Is Chicago at home? Why are they at home? I still probably like this guy. Let's see. He's been getting some production. Yeah. He's definitely been the focus with some of this rework that's going on there. And for me, at least, he's kind of already risen to that level of he's kind of an auto ad. And then I see if I like that at the end, as some other of these players are. So I definitely think he is one that I will hesitate from fixture proof, because I don't think Chicago is fixture proof.
I don't either.
They're definitely improving. They're definitely getting out of. I had an argument earlier in the year about some of the poorest managed teams in MLS, and I had Chicago on my list, and I got a lot of crap for that. And I was trying to
a lot of Greg fans just sticking around, huh?
Well, what I was trying to it was talking about ownership and like owners that really didn't do a lot, and I was sort of saying that Chicago is turning a corner, and that if I had to give a top 10 list, they were like 10. Because there is new investment, there is a stadium being built, but like this is like built on the back of a history of nothing, and so it's sort of like now
they went and signed a big name coach.
Sure,
say what you will about how you think he is skill wise, but he's a big name, right?
Yeah, and so we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I like Zink, so he's a good one there. Going to chat real quick. Want to hear how you all did as well. Yep, 92 points here. We've got 110 points from Scott. That is a fantastic score.
Nice job.
So it says 2 OR. So I don't know if you're saying, Scott, your second overall, or if you combined your 2 and your like 20, you combine the overall. So I'm going to check real quick, but as I go to the leagues, because that's amazing. So. No, black and red. Oh, did you mean for the round? Black and red is overall. I mean, let's look real quick though. We've got Vrooks, who does articles for Fantasy Boss, that #1 overall. Huge congratulations there, Team Redpath. Black and red, #2, who's a frequent chatter here. Hey Ricky, you're so fine. Been a member of the community for years. Our good buddy Cam, I think he was on a show earlier this year.
Yep.
#4, Christian's #6 overall. So I mean, as we talked about last year, just lots of representation of the MLS Fantasy Boss community right here. Garth is at 13th, and so I'm sure there's some other people who I'm overlooking, just kind of going through here real quick, taking a look. But FPL Thomas, I know you were in chat just a second ago. You're right there, 22nd. So fantastic scores. Love to see that. Love to see you guys having those results in chat. And I got to call out Eric as well, who said he got 62 points. But that is over the average, and man, that is right. You beat the average, and so I think that is the great way to look at that. This was the final round for Champions League qualifying, as we mentioned. So congrats to Ashley making that. Congrats to Ron, contributor, who made it as well, and to everyone else who made the Champions League. Congratulations. That Champions League final is coming up starting next round, where you guys will have other opportunities at more points. You are the top 200 players, at least the top 50 from each of the quarter qualifying rounds to score. And so you guys are going to be duking it out now for some Champions League titles. So congratulations there. Look forward to seeing how that turns out and who ends up taking that Champions title. To do that, though, you're going to need to get those old thought processes going for what players you're going to be targeting coming up around 25, and that is exactly what we're going to be talking about right after this. I know this will make me seem super old, but whenever I say things like that, I always hear in my head, I don't know if you, Ashley, or anybody else in chat ever watched like the old like BBC or mystery theater shows from Agatha Christie's Poirot. And so, like,
My
I
mom
always
still watches that.
there we go. Well, I've got them as well available to stream. But I'm always like the little gray cells, like to get that going. It's just always like comes into my head, and I'm like, nah, that's
I know
far
what you're talking about.
it's far too old, or maybe it's not. I don't know what our average age is. So, but
I don't know. I don't think
there
there's
we
one.
go. I don't know the average age of our listeners. That's got to be out there.
I don't think so.
Grumpy 80 points, not bad at all. Yeah, you guys had some awesome scores, absolutely awesome scores. I'm so excited to see you guys doing well. But I'm getting distracted, waxing on about.
Oh, I forgot to put home and
Agatha
away
Christie.
real quick. I mean, we could do a sub podcast if you want.
No,
I know you and Blaine did a Star Wars, but if you ever want to, go Agatha Christie, I will. I will get in on that.
Much with that. Okay, let's see here.
I think we'd lose some of our normal viewers, but
probably. I can start a poll and see who would listen to an Agatha Christie podcast. It's probably a different
done by you and me
demographic in fantasy demographic.
Probably.
So we can see. What happens there.
Maybe.
All right, so here we go. Social media is going out for the second segment of the show. We'll do the quick housekeeping, and then we'll get into picks. So looking forward to seeing who is on your all's minds this round. Okay, here we go. Hello and welcome back. We're going to talk about our player picks going into round 25. But first, some quick housekeeping because there are some things that you need to know before we get into the players for this round. First, when does this round start? Well, it starts on Saturday, August 23rd, and that is at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. This is your usual Apple TV lineup right here, 7:30s, 8:30s, 9:30s, 10:30s, just going across the coast. And then we have three matches. I do that often. 3 matches playing on Sunday, August 2nd. At 4 o'clock, we have Atlanta versus Toronto. At 7 o'clock, we have Charlotte. At 7 o'clock, we have Charlotte versus New York Red Bulls. And then finally at 9:15, so do keep that note that the final game starts at 9:15. We have Seattle Sounders versus Sporting Kansas City. So three pretty good games. Actually like some of these Sunday games, but most of the games are going to be Saturday. No midweek games, sort of. And I say that because we do have 4 Leagues Cup games on Wednesday. That's the 20th. 4 Leagues Cup games on Wednesday. Miami is home versus Tigres. Orlando is traveling to Toluca. Seattle is home versus Puebla. And then LA Galaxy are home versus Pachuca. So 3 of those teams are at home. 1 of them is away. Keep an eye on that. This is the final knockouts, the final rounds of Leagues Cup. And so this is where more teams may be taking it seriously if they weren't already taking it seriously, and kind of that strange format, that strange knockout format that we had. But pay attention to those lineups, see how they will impact. Fortunately, these are all Wednesday games, and everything else is playing later in the week. Of course, Seattle has it easiest, being at home to Puebla and then staying at home for the Sunday game. You shake your head. What I mean by easiest is they don't have to travel anywhere. With home.
You're right.
Yeah, home and they don't have to travel anywhere, and they have the longest gap between the games. So the other teams can't say that. I mean, Miami.
The only reason I did that was because I thought LA was also home on Sunday, but I'm wrong. They're home on Saturday.
Right. They do get to stay at home, but it's on Saturday. Miami, of course, is traveling to DC, and then Orlando is traveling to Nashville, as well as having to travel for their Leagues Cup game as well. So important takeaway there for Orlando with that. Otherwise, those are the big things to keep in mind. I mean, look at the disco report, look at the injury reports, just see what happened. I mean, there could be something with Cincinnati. We'll see what kind of updates they have there, but just normal stuff that we're looking at as far as the updates. And those normal things you can find via the Mega Reference over at the MLS Fantasy Boss Discord community. Just go down there to the Fantasy Tools, find the Mega Reference. Lots of great information there, including call-ups and injuries and just safe scrubs, which I probably could have benefited from this week. But keep an eye on that over at the MLS Fantasy Boss Discord. The easiest way to find that is mlsfantasyboss.com/discord and get into the Mega Reference. It is awesome. A community curated project. So, yep, those are the quick bits of housekeeping I wanted to touch on. But now let's talk players. Ashley, as always, we are starting with keepers and defenders. And this is an interesting one, so I'm interested in your takes. Who are you looking at?
Yeah, most weeks you and I kind of always look at the matchups we like, and we go from there, right? I would say defensively, for the most part this season, there hasn't been a fixture-proof player, right? Like our Wagner hasn't quite been Wagnering. I can't even remember the last time we talked about Brooks Lennon. You know how I feel about Orjano. So generally through this whole season, unless someone's kind of on a run, I look at the matchups, I decide what I like. This is a tricky weekend from my perspective because the two teams that I like the most both play on Sunday and have a 15-minute window
Yep.
of doesn't work. So for the sake of conversation and what we do on this show, I will backtrack and look at the Saturday games and kind of walk through what I'm thinking from these games. So honestly, right off the top, I am interested in this Columbus matchup. Columbus at home against New England Revolution, who does generally struggle on the road. Their home performance has been better. Heel had kind of an off week this last round. Columbus defense hasn't quite been, what it has been. I should say, over the course of consistency, but I'm definitely considering, maybe a Morera, or someone from that Columbus backline as a bench play, right? Because I'd have plenty of time before the other matchups I like to see. I'm also a little interested in the Houston game. Again, not any incredible standout performances from them defensively recently. They did have a good run of form earlier this season and last season. Griffin Dorsey is a name that's come up on the show a few times this year for sure. But also, even with a great front three, don't get me wrong, great front three from San Jose, not always firing on all cylinders offensively or defensively this season. So might be a team that I target on the road with Houston, and bring in, like I said, a Griffin Dorsey from there. And then just to break, all rules of home and away, I'm considering Ryan Holmeshead. I think that Dallas is even though it's a home game, Moose is still scoring kind of. I do kind of look at Dallas, even when they have Lucho, if I'm being completely honest, as a team to pick against.
Sure.
LAFC has a big, kind of emotional bump, if you will, I guess, like a confidence bump with Sonny signing. He obviously does not directly affect the defense, but Hollingshead is a name that I consider an offensive contributor outside of just the shutout. So he's definitely someone that I'm looking at. And then the only other Saturday two players that keep coming in and out of my lineup is Kai Wagner against Chicago. Chicago, not a great defensive team. Philly playing at home, Wagner does have those offensive contributions. And then another player that is generally out of position, and yet another home game for them, CF Montreal, is Sealy. Austin is not a great offensive team. They're traveling all the way up to Canada. I haven't really been on the out of position Sealy train, if you will, but I think that he's definitely someone to take a shout at. But generally, for both goalkeepers and, half my defense, I'm looking at the Charlotte and Seattle home game. Now, the caveat with Seattle being, I feel pretty confident that they're gonna go into Leagues Cup with a strong lineup. They do have enough time, but they have a lot of injuries, Seattle does. So I don't know how much rotation. I don't know who'll sub in and out. They've definitely been doing that, post Leagues Cup in the stretch of MLS, but this is a Western Conference game against Sporting Kansas City. My defender of choice would be Alex Roldan, but we've also seen him rotated for Costa Rienzi when rotations needed to happen, so that's something to note. And then I tend to go back and forth between Malanda and Tim Ream for my Charlotte defenders, and one of them will definitely be in my lineup this week. And honestly, at the moment, I have Kalina on my bench and Steph Fry starting to keeperoo. I don't know if that's the smartest choice. Stephen Fry did start this weekend. I think he'll continue to start. He had a bit of a howler against Minnesota, but he's still Steph Fry. So even if Thomas was playing, I don't trust him much less. So I think that could be a decent swap. But that's uh, kind of where I'm at right now. I do want Jordi Alba. I think that going to DC for them is a great matchup.
Yeah.
But they have that midweek game as well, and do generally rotate a bit. So it's just something to pay attention to. And they are in that, early window, that 4:30, 7:30 window. So yeah, that's I don't know.
Yeah, this one, I like this one. This is a nice like problem to sort of like sink your teeth
Sure.
into. I feel like for this round, and I see a lot of the names in chat, and I get where they're coming from, and I'll try to touch on as many of those as I can. So when I start looking at this, I agree with you, Ashley. Is I am most attracted to
Mhm.
two teams from these Sunday games. New York Red Bulls have the worst away chance to score of any team. They only score on the road about every game and a half. Their average is a little bit better, but they're scoring about 1 goal every game and a half of when they're on the road. So that is the worst in the league. And then as far as a home chance to concede, Charlotte is in the top 5 of teams, and they're averaging conceding a little less than 1 goal a game. And so that's good. That's good. Other teams are more, and so they're good. The best though is Nashville, and we'll get them in a second. So I like that matchup. I think Kalina just is a great definite backup. Seattle, same thoughts as you were saying. I'm hoping it's going to be Fry. I think that's the best option. It's got some good skill that he has there. Seattle has been okay. They're closing in on averaging about less than a goal a game. They're not quite at that point right now, but Sporting Kansas City is in the bottom half, mid table at best, of being able to generate goals on the road. So I like that matchup. That's me betting against Sporting Kansas City, but I like Charlotte better. And so Charlotte is definitely the back end of my keeperoo. So who am I looking at for the other end? And that's where it gets so interesting. Nashville has the best, just by the numbers, the best home defense right now as far as conceding goals. This isn't shots. This is just conceding goals. So Nashville is doing the best at not conceding goals, but they're going up against Orlando, and we love Orlando. We just talked about how well they were producing, and I think this is going to lean into. I mean, they're generating almost 2 goals on the road a game. Not quite there. They live it over at 1 goal, but they're nearing in on generating 2 goals a game on the road. But this is where I talk about they had that double traveling for Leagues Cup, traveling for MLS to Nashville. What impact will that have on them? What will their starting lineup look like? Where will they rotate? Will they rotate? I mean, how is that going to impact them? And so I'm a little bit gun shy to just go with Nashville because I have respect for Orlando. But that's in the thought process. So where do I go to after that? And this is where I like these names that people are throwing out in chat. So we see San Diego, Cincinnati are names that are getting thrown out in chat. We see Philadelphia, do note, though, Blake is injured. He left early from the game. Blake is injured, so factor that in if you're thinking about a keeperoo for Philadelphia. I see people talking about Lloris. So, I get where these names are coming from because we've got a situation where we've got several road teams that have some good defenses that we're looking at. I think Lloris is an excellent option because, like you said, Ashley, of betting against Dallas. I think that is a good option right there. I think it is a road team, but I think it's one of the better road options that we have. I'm intrigued by Columbus. They've not been good at keeping clean sheets at home, but New England has struggled to have some consistency, heels in maybe a bit of a slump. I like what you're looking at there. Cincinnati, I think, is a good shout. Have a lot of respect to Martinez coming in from Red Bulls, but Cincinnati's defense is usually pretty solid. Now, will Orshano be back? That's going to be a factor. I think they need him for that creativity they had. Will Robinson be ready to go? He left kind of near the end of the game, hoping it's just some tightness. But will he be available? Like, what's going to be there? But I could see that being a solid option for Cincinnati to go with that. San Diego is another one who is near the top of they're another team who is conceding less than a goal a game at home. But I just watched that Portland game, and they were generating opportunities and had a vibrant attack and creativity. And so I could see a goal in that game. I can see opportunities in that game for Portland. So I'm a little shy from San Diego, but I could get the thought process. They have a stout defense there. And then I also, I will talk about Vancouver again. St. Louis has been another team that has struggled to generate chances. They're in the bottom three. St. Louis, Atlanta, New York Red Bulls. Those are the three worst teams at getting goals on the road this year. And so I can see that thought process of looking for those teams right now. And so I've not settled on my pick. I'll tell you right now that that's still the process that I'm going through in my head. I want it to be Celentano. But I think that might be a little bit too more of a homer element coming through, so I'm not fully in there. I don't know if I want Columbus. I did think about Columbus, so for me, it's kind of coming down to looking at a Vancouver, maybe an LA FC right there, and maybe Nashville, depending on what the Orlando lineup looks like. But from the names that people are talking about in chat, though, I totally get why people are mentioning those. Those are definitely viable. I see where that thought process is going. And I will just add for Philadelphia as well. Blake's not there, and Chicago is by and far the best team that's scoring on the road. Like, that has been, road has been Chicago's home this year. So I would I have Wagner in my team right now. And that's also because I feel like Chicago isn't solid on the road. And so he's there mostly for offensive production, which I haven't seen. I agree with you. And so he's definitely on my chopping block for, okay, I'll put him in there. Let's see what I like as I think through this. Otherwise, I'm just matching up teams. I mean, Belanda, Tim Ream, whoever you want to go through with that. I think Roldan is a good option there. I also like Alba. McVeigh could be an option that you go with. You could go with Nahar or someone with Nashville if you want to go with that. Pick a Vancouver option. There's a few different ones that you like. I mean, a lot of these guys are pretty similar. You're either going for a center back to kind of get some of those bonus points, or you're looking at your favorite winger. I don't think I would go with an LAFC attacker on defense, like a Hollingshead. I don't think I'd go with that. I'd rather move to the more actual offensive teams. But I think those are some of the options there. I mean, if you don't feel like Philadelphia will be able to score, which I don't think that's it. I mean, you could always look at Chicago defender and roll the dice on Gutman, like I did last week. Got me 4 points. Maybe it will do something for you there. I mean, he could get I got something off a set play up against a backup keeper. But Blackman, any of those guys who you're looking at from Vancouver, I think those are the teams that I tend to settle on right now. Of course, the Alba, I'm going to keep a watch out for rotations. Freeman, we didn't mention this. I know Freeman didn't have a lot of play last week. I know there's some talks about maybe him getting traded. So just keep an eye. Just keep an eye on him for what his minutes might be. And then I don't think anyone's really seriously considering LA Galaxy as a defensive defensive teams right there. So check in chat real quick. Yeah, Gene says he thinks New York City FC versus FCC is going to be a goal fest. 3-3. Book it right now. We'll be back and talking to you next week, Gene. See how that is. But that's my worry too. I mean, Cincinnati has a strong defense, but there's been problems in the midfield that they just get pounded all game long, and so at some point something tends to give. So fortunately, it didn't happen too many times last week. But that would be my worry about the Cincinnati New York game, which is why, like I said, I wish I could go with Celentano, but I don't. He's not really in that top 3 of what I'm looking at there. So it'll be good. And then I mentioned careful about Blackman with the injury. Yeah, I mean he's. I had him on my team last week, but really whichever Vancouver defender, none of them really stand out to me as like, oh, I have to have this one. So like which Vancouver player starting is usually who I'll slot in to there. It's not kind of been like last year when they had like Ali who was there playing, who was out of position and getting some of those. And there's nothing who's really up and out like that for me from Vancouver. Well, and anyways, I say that, and then I get Ahmed maybe back. Thank you, Footy Canuck.
He came in.
I have to take that. Look at the handle. The handle.
He came into the game, but he didn't start. Ali Ahmed, and he looked great.
We'll see. So. I mean, yes, if Ali is starting, and I feel good about that, he would be a player I would look at. But as I have mentioned multiple times in the past, I'm a more conservative player. I tend to like to see a result, which is why I didn't go with like Sonny this week. I'd kind of like to see him start, see what he does, and then I think about it. But if you like him, I mean, I get it. Ali has great history as a go-to Vancouver defender for us, so cannot fault you for going with that. But yeah, that's where I kind of fall down on how the defense breaks down. I love it. I think this is a really intricate defensive week where you have good options for a ruse, especially with the teams who are playing on Sunday. So an easy setup for that.
Sure.
All right, let's move on to midfielders. Ashley, who are you looking at?
Yeah, I like Evander at home. All due respect to NYCFC, but I still think that his home form should make an impact. I also like Dreyer. You talked about Portland's improved offense, but no one is talking about Portland's improved defense at any point. I think that a home match for Dreyer should be kind of a welcome return to some of those extra bonus points that we've been seeing more often from him at home. I still like Ojeda, but I'm watching the midweek games. I think that that's kind of a overlapping kind of caveat to this weekend is what are these teams putting out for the midweek Leagues Cup games. And so I do want to take Ojeda even on the road. I think that that's a good matchup for him, but how much does Orlando rotate? How many minutes did he play midweek? All those types of things. They're away also at Toluca. Do I really want him after that travel? But right now he's in my team, so we'll see. Another road player that I do like is Zinkernagle at Philly. Like you said, Chicago are doing well on the road. Andre Blake is hurt. What does that look like? So I think that he's definitely someone to have in the team. And then I've just got a handful of fringe players, Reid, kind of like we just spouted off with defenders where we have 9 people, but we can only have 5. I do like Mukhtar this week. Like you said, I respect Orlando more than to target them, but I do think that the travel to Toluca, that game should see some rotation. And so I'm wondering if that's a good Hani, to get more than a 6. And then I'm jumping on a train that is previous yours, and I'm looking at Jack McGlynn this week. Haven't picked him up one time. I think that he didn't exactly have a previous round to speak of. Nothing great in this past round. However, I like the matchup. I like the home. I'm interested to see if maybe he returns to that bonus point form. And then the last midfield player that is considerably sticking out to me this week is Mihailovic away to Atlanta. I don't love my away middies if I can help it, especially someone who just switched to a new team. but Atlanta is a team we tend to target defensively. I think that he's doing well in Toronto. He's definitely not quite the replacement for the two Italians, but he is continuing, a pretty decent run of form that he's had since getting, leaving Colorado and also getting to Toronto. I'm also interested to see if Rodrigo DePaul gets rotated or not for Miami. He's a midfielder. We don't have a ton of data on him. He's sat and things like that, and not all of his contributions have been in MLS play. They've been in Leagues Cup play, but he's still someone that I'm kind of keeping my eye on. And the last player that I'll mention, like I said earlier, I kind of have my eye on Columbus kicking this round off and playing New England, but is Gazdag.
Yeah.
Do we like Gazdag playing a team he's played a lot before? So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And again, I apologize. Every so often, you and I have a round where we just can't nail it down quite yet, and I feel like that's what's happening to me today.
No, I mean, I'll be honest. I hadn't even thought much about Gazdag because he's just not really been clicking in Columbus. So it's good. It's good to hear that. Yeah, I love seeing a lot of the names in chat as well. Some of the overlapping ones that I have for you. Yeah, Evander, I think it's good there. Dreyer, I have right there. Zinkernagel, like I said, he's kind of gets auto added to my team a lot. I like the Mukhtar shout out. For the same reasons there. He's been doing well. I don't have Ojeda in my team right now, and that's because I am wanting to see what happens with the road. I did have Jordy in my team based on him getting the assist last week, and then Toronto being Atlanta. So that was a wishful away team. But I am open to taking that out and maybe looking at Mueller. He's in the game as a midfielder. And so this, don't forget that he's in the game as a midfield. He's now in the game. But Mueller, Berhalter, how's that going to play? Is he going to start? What kind of minutes? Like you said, 29 minutes last week. I think that could be a fun play against St. Louis, and just see as this is his first time there. Some of the other names that you mentioned that I had tossed around McGlynn last week as, hey, keep an eye on him. Didn't go with him. I had thrown him out there as one to look at, and he has that rich bonus point potential, which has not been consistent. But I totally get if that's where you want to look at this week. I mean, Houston has the ability to score. San Jose, not the strongest defense. I mean, San Diego got 2 on them last week. No shade at San Diego. That's not them, but it's they're allowing goals, and so I think that definitely does make McGlynn a better target this week than maybe he was last week. But don't forget, Diego Luna is also back. That's a name I saw in chat that they're going up against Minnesota. He's just a dynamic player, a lot of opportunities there for you to go with. I think he's worth being in your top 5 for that reason. So, I mean, I think that could definitely, especially if Ojeda's not going to be out, if you're liking Evander, Dreyer, Mukhtar, and you're thinking, who else? I mean, I think Luna is definitely a name you should have there. It's let me see what this looks like. I think it could work. A couple of names I'm going to throw at you that I want to get your thoughts on is, since Rusnak is out for a little bit longer, PDV and RDP. Where do we sit here with Pedro de la Vega, and then over here with DePaul with Miami? Are these? I know we talked about de la Vega was really kind of coming into some form. Is this game good enough for him? And DePaul, maybe midweek games. He didn't get a lot of minutes this week. Is this a bench play? What do you think of those two guys, Ashley?
So Pedro de la Vega has not been starting consistently. He definitely hit a very good run of form in the combo of Leagues Cup and MLS play. But Schmetzer has been doing a lot of midfield rotation, and Pedro de la Vega is not starting every game. Some people say it's injury prevention. Some people say it's injury management. Some people say it's just tactics. I don't have a clear answer. With Rusnak out, he hasn't thrived, but that's not to say he, doesn't with this matchup. This is a great matchup for the Sounders offensively, right? But if you throw him in your lineup, there's a chance he's not starting, and then you have to move to like a Paul Rothrock, or Ryan Kent. Oh no, he's hurt. Sorry. Um, yeah, I think the fallbacks get a little tricky, if you wait to that last game. Rodrigo DePaul, like I said, for me, I'm interested to see how Miami rotate because I think that he is a good option, a good midfield option for this game. It's a road game, but it's a road game at DC, one of the worst home teams, one of the worst defensive teams. So I think that he's definitely someone to consider. Are there better home midfield options? Maybe. But if Messi's back and there's little rotation to Inter Miami, I think he's someone to take a look at for sure.
I do need to add a quick update from chat about Diego Luna. I wasn't tracking this properly, and so I think some others may have this confusion as well. Diego Luna is not available for this round.
One more game.
He was suspended this last week due to the red card from that second caution that he got, and then he is suspended this week because there is yellow card accumulation on top of that as well. So sorry. Wow. I had not tracked that appropriately, but appreciate chat. Thanks Daily for mentioning that in chat and helping point that out. So yes, Diego Luna not available due to of yellow card math. We'll just call it that way. Due to yellow card math, Diego Luna not available.
Due to yellow card math.
Due to yellow card math. The last name that I will mention, because I think is viable, is Wolf from New York City FC. He's had a couple of assists in his last games. Cincinnati is vulnerable. We'll see what kind of defense they can put up there. So if you feel like that's going to be a big game, Wolf could be a bench play. I think he'd be a fifth mid for sure if you're looking at that on the road to Cincinnati. So ultimately for me right now, where I stand is I've got Mukhtar, Evander, Dreyer, and Zinkernagel as the four of my main targets, and then I'm looking at that pivot for who I'm going to have as the fifth player. Is it going to be Mueller? Is it going to be somebody else? But that's who I'm running with right now, and we'll just see where the numbers kind of play out. Will Ojeda get some rotation and see if he's going to be available with that, and then do I want that against Nashville, which is a pretty stout defense in and of itself. So that's where I'm sitting at right now. All right, let's move to the forwards. Ashley, who are you looking at?
Right now I have Messi or Suarez because how do they rotate? What do they do? I do have Sonny. He's currently on my bench conservatively. And then I'm kind of tossing a couple different names around for that third spot. Initially it was Diego Rossi. Then I was considering is Serge good or is that too much? Targeting Brian White. How's he going? Is he going to start again? Would that be, good for him if Mueller starts as well? And then it just pains me to say it, and I feel like I inevitably will get some communication from Tyler about this, but Danny Musovski. If Danny Musovski is slated to start, he is on an insane run of goals for a player of his status. Am I ignoring my own homer points in this situation? He didn't start this past weekend, but like I said, Schmetzer's been doing a mild to moderate amount of rotation with the midfield and strikers because of injuries. So, I joked around with some friends about not having him 2 rounds ago, and he had a brace against the Galaxy. So, I don't know. Do I actually have to take this seriously? Who did you mention from Charlotte as well? Zaha, I guess.
He's not fighting fans.
If he's not fighting
fans and getting clean sheets. The new Netflix documentary about Charlotte FC.
Is Chucky back for San Diego against Timbers? So I've got too many running around in my head, but right now my firms are Son and Messi. Messi with an asterisk that I don't know if he'll get rotated due to Leagues Cup.
So I'm going to take one quick step back because we had a question in chat right as we were doing the transition here about Atlanta at Atlanta hosting Toronto at home with midfielder options, and I do think it is worth mentioning Moranchuk in there. I mean, he's gotten he's gotten 4 goals over his last 5 games. Toronto is usually good to give up a goal in a game, and so yeah, I cannot give you a reason not to. There's just, as Ashley had mentioned, they're usually a team that we're targeting because of that. Their offense has not been clicking on all heels. Moranchuk is usually good for a bonus point from his key passes. Doesn't always get a lot of shots, so he does have to make a lot of quality out of the chances that he does get. Toronto, middle of the road as far as the goals that they've been giving up this year, and they have allowed sorry, I was looking at the wrong. They have allowed like a little over 300 shots against them this season, which kind of puts them in the bottom third. So there'll be some opportunities for sure. Wouldn't be surprised if Atlanta got a goal, and Moranchuk is likely the best opportunity for that. So yeah, didn't look into that before, so appreciate you calling that out, and definitely want to mention that he could definitely be there. I'd still put him as a fifth mid at best, as more of that potential Aru option. I mean, he'd be a great guy to have on your field to start the round to see if you're going to have a forward pop off that you're going to want to bring in instead, because you might have a better chance. Like if someone's going to get you double digits, I think I would easily be willing to drop him out for that, because 9 is probably a reasonable ceiling. So sorry, wanted to touch on that.
Great tangent.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah, but going back to forwards. So yeah, first ad for me this week was Messi. I mean, he's back. I don't think the Leagues Cup game is going to impact that much. I still think we're going to see him this week, even on the road to DC. That's just going to be a good game. I mean, I think they'll see that as easy points, and Messi can come in there and get some good goals and kind of start chipping away at the people who are coming at him for Golden Boot. Things like that. And then Sonny, I agree. I liked what I read. I didn't watch the game, but I liked what I read about Sonny, about him getting involved, how he's playing. I know how he's played from Tottenham, so I like seeing that here. And for me, seeing the replays and some of that answered that question for me of how was this going to impact Bawanga? And I think it's negatively going to impact Bawanga. He'll still get his chances. He'll still be there. We'll see, but I think it's hard for Sonny not to be kind of a target.
On PKs too,
that's we'll see what all this stuff plays out. But I feel like Sonny's going to be a target because of him coming in there, and now that goes both ways. The defense is also targeting, and that's probably where Bawanga is going to get some of the benefit. But for me, even though it is a road team, I like that game against Dallas, and so I like having Sonny in my lineup right there. After that, I really just said someone else, and I did. No, literally in my rundown, I've got Messi, Son, and someone else. LOL is what I wrote, because I mean, you could be potentially looking at Sturridge up there with Nashville as an option. I mean, he's also been flirting with Golden Boot right there. Depends on who Orlando is going to be trotting out right there. I mean, I think you could potentially look at San Diego with some options there at forward. It's up for grabs. You could look at Rossi, absolutely, up there against New England. You've got potential to see who's there, who's starting for the Union. They've got some forward attacking options. So you could go with Amart over there with New York City if you really think they're going to make a meal out of Cincinnati. Or look at Dinke. He came back, had some great looks as well at the goal. I mean, these are opportunities that are there. So I think you've got a lot of flexibility. I got to talk about White. What do you think, Ashley, with Mueller's in the mix? He had the goal called back. White got a goal. Are you feeling there is negative impact to White with Mueller?
I watched that game, and I again, small sample size, just like Sonny and Bawanga, right? I don't think so. I still think Brian White is playing as the striker in a system where Thomas Mueller is in the midfield. So I think that, kind of like you're saying about Sonny, if anything, I think this would free Brian White up more positionally, because people are going to be paying attention, and wanting to keep the ball away from Mueller. So Brian White was on my list of possible third third strikers after Messi and Sonny, and so I don't think that Mueller makes him not appealing, if that makes sense. I think that White should still remain however you viewed him before. And he got a goal, and he would have gotten an assist on the Mueller goal if it had counted. So
Yep. No, absolutely. And then of course I'll round it out as you mentioned, as I alluded to at the top of the show. Toklamati over with Charlotte has had very consistent as of late, and I'd be remiss if I didn't also say Navarro, who I also mentioned at the top of the show, for having a great little run of form as well. Navarro is on the road, but LA Galaxy, they are playing for Leagues Cup, and so they're both at home. But they have one less day of rest than Seattle does, but their defense is not stout, so potential opportunities right there. And then, of course, Charlotte is playing at home against Red Bull, and so that's just a great run of form for Tokomati. So I can definitely see that. Currently, I'm sitting on Messi, Sun, and Surge, and just seeing what that looks like at the end of the day. So let's wrap everything up now with our captain's picks. Who are you looking at?
I want it to be Messi because it's easier. I am less confident than you are. You are exuding some confidence that he will go both games. For me, it's Messi if he starts, and then if not Messi, I think I lean Dreyer or Vander.
Yeah.
Two home middies with relatively consistent point production and goal contributions, playing weaker defensive teams. So I don't think it's a hard one over the other. Those are just I would kind of go with my gut between the two of them, but that would be my if not Messi captain, I think.
Yeah, I'm sitting in the same boat. I mean, I feel pretty good about Messi, and so if he starts, then I'm definitely looking at him because I don't rate DC very high, as I don't think any of us do. And if not Messi, Evander. I mean, Evander's been on a great run of form, had that hiccup against Charlotte, but I mean, you've riding that wave of that high that's got to be coming off of this Portland game with that win. Sloppy second half for sure, but got the goal, got the assist, going to be in a 3-game home run, including one that I'll be at. I'll be there at the Philadelphia game, so that'll be a fun time. But it's he's there locked in for the second or the first backup for me as far as captain goes. And then looking at chat, I mean, seeing a lot of the similar names in chat right there. Excuse me, Dreyer, Footy Canuck is mentioning that one. Eric says if not Messi, then he's considering White or Sonny. So I think those are Well, I can definitely respect those. As I know, forwards can be a bit more boom or bust, but if you like the match and like the opportunity, they could definitely get the boom that some of the maybe more consistent midfield points don't have, and I think those are two good options right there. So yeah, very, very good. All right, well, that's all that we have for the show for you tonight. Thank you very much, everyone who joined. It was fun talking about this. I think this is a great round. I mean, there's some good decisions to be made, some great home and away comparisons you can do, and so I think this is a great round to kick off the Champions Cup to really see how you can differentiate yourself from the pack. And no, it's just good. It's just this nice kind of classic MLS round where we have a lot of choices, a lot of fun. Be sure that you use the resources at hand, and we're happy that this can be one of them. So let's finish everything up with our plugs. Ashley, what do you have?
Yeah, just head to Discord. I feel like this is a great week to have some conversations in there because there's, like you're kind of saying, there's a lot more disparity, I think, in this round than some of the last couple rounds. So just head on over there. Also at the Mega Reference, seeing who's in and who's out, who's hurt and who's not. So that's my plug as always.
Yep. And of course, head over to MLSFantasyBoss.com. I can't agree more that this is a great round to engage in some conversation over at the Discord community. There's the easy link to join Discord there if you are not a member already. But check out the articles. This will be a great round to really see what advice is coming out from the strategy clinic. Like what kinds of differentials are coming out this week. Eli's moving into college, and so we'll see if he can get us some rounds being the #1 player, or maybe he's playing it close to the chest. We'll see what happens. And then, of course, Christian's player rankings sitting up there top 10. So some great advice for some great fantasy minds. So be sure to check that out, MLSFantasyBoss.com. So it's free, it's fun, it's the Discord, it's the community. So definitely be a member if you're not already, and just enjoy what is left of this season. So I hope the advice is helpful, and as always, good luck.